Hello everyone, it's Miriam Ortiz y Pino here with the February 2017 question and answer session. I'll be here for about the next half an hour, here to answer questions live, so go tell all your friends and come join me. I have a few questions that were submitted. If you don't know how to submit a question, you're going to want to go to morethanorganized.net and sign up for any of the free offers. It'll put you onto the newsletter list, and then you'll get the reminder to submit your questions. You can also just email me through the contact form or post it here on Facebook, and I will add it to the queue for questions to answer on these sessions. I do these Q&A sessions every second Thursday of the month at about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 5 o'clock Mountain Time for me. And I just wanted to make sure that you all know that that's a regular schedule, and I will be doing this so every month, every second Thursday. Okay, sorry, I'm swinging the computer around here. It's always, the lighting in my office is a little bit funky at this time of day as the sun sets through my western window, so I have to kind of scooch into the corner a little bit. But anyway, go tell your friends, come on back and ask some questions. I do have a few that are ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those up. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. All right. I've got, I wonder how I can see. Oh, I know how I can see. There's always the dreaded delay that when I look at what's actually happening on the video, it's always behind what I'm actually thinking, so it messes me up a little bit. But I'm going to monitor the page from the phone so that I know when questions come in. Okay. And in the meantime, I've got a lot of questions this time about kind of routines and time management stuff, so we're going to talk a lot about that. And see, well, this is interesting. My Facebook page on the phone has not updated since January 31st. What is up with that? Very interesting. All right, we're going to go without that. I will look it up the awkward way that works, even if it's a little bit awkward. So let's start with these questions, though. First one is from Bonnie, and she wanted to know, she's a creative type and wants to know if routines and systems are going to zap all of her spontaneity. And this is a big one. I work with a lot of creative types, creative visionaries, everyone from solopreneurs starting their own business to actual artists, sculptors, painters, photographers, writers, musicians. And they all think that using a calendar and scheduling things is going to zap all their creativity. They want to be available for the muse. Well, two things about that, and that is that systems and routines actually free you up. It allows you to do most of what needs to get done, the must-get-done stuff, the minimal stuff that keeps you alive and your life flowing. That stuff becomes routine and from the unconscious part of your brain, so you don't have to think about it or waste a lot of creative energy on that stuff. So you want to have those routines in place so the stuff gets done. The laundry gets done, the food gets bought and cooked, you eat, you shower, you get dressed, you can drop the kids off at school and pick them up, you spend some time with your spouse or your coworkers. Those kinds of things need to happen regularly. And if you set up routines and a little bit of structure to get those done in the quickest amount of time possible, you free up all the rest of your day for doing very deep work, very deep creative work. It also turns out that setting up regular blocks of time to work on that deeper creative work keeps the muse coming back more regularly because you get in the habit of being available at a certain time for it. You get everything set up to write your next blog post, to write another chapter, to paint another canvas. Whatever it is, you need to be in the studio or in your creative space to get that done. If you don't schedule things, chances are you'll be at the grocery store or running an urgent errand because you forgot to do something. and you won't be in the creative room working where the muse will find you. So think of it that way. Just reverse engineer it. You don't have to schedule every single minute of your day. But if you schedule, I'm going to work on these things for the next 20 minutes, and then those things for the next 20 minutes, and these other things for 20 minutes after that, and then I'm going to take a quick little break, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on some creative stuff for about the next 90 minutes or 3 hours or whatever you can do. But if you schedule 3 to 9 20-minute sessions at the beginning of your day to get the most things done, all that little stuff that piles up and you don't want to fall through the cracks, and then do creative work, or vice versa. Do the 3 hours of creative work first and then make sure you have 3 hours to do all that other stuff. You're going to love it. It's going to get you so much more done, and you're going to be more creative because you're going to regularly show up where the muse is available. All right, hope that one helps, Bonnie. And her follow-up question is, then how do you know what to work on first? Well, if you create enough structure, you can really get a lot of that stuff done, the stuff that has to get done. So that gets done first. And then the most important thing, not the urgent thing, but you want to do your routines, and then the most important thing, which would be the creative work, the thing that makes you more money, the thing that moves your life forward the farthest, the most important thing. The thing that in doing it makes everything else easier. That's from The One Thing, the book, The One Thing, which I highly recommend as a way of starting to change your mind about how you think about time. It doesn't have to be super structured, just flexible structure. Make sure you schedule a block of time to work on a certain kind of thing. And then knowing what to work on first comes from having a good idea what your goals are. What are you trying to accomplish? If you are trying to write a book, working on your taxes isn't going to be your first priority. It might be in April if you still haven't gotten around to your taxes, but it's better to have some time set aside to regularly work on your bills and correspondence and get bits and pieces of your taxes done over a period of time, so you maximize the block of time you have for doing creative work. All right, I hope that helps. You have to know what you're trying to accomplish in order to know what to work on first. Other people's urgent is not your emergency. So keep that in mind too. Just because someone else asked you to do it doesn't mean it has to happen first. It could happen third or fourth or sixth even, or not at all. So think about that. Okay. Just want to check in here. Ooh, nice. I have a bunch of people. Hello. Welcome to the broadcast. I hope you are able to see this. And let's see if there's a question that's come up yet. Again, sorry for I have to figure out what is going on with my phone, why it's not updating the page so that I can use both of my pieces of technology to work this out. Technology is supposed to help us, and sometimes the learning curve makes it a little harder, but it's worth learning. So, see if this loads, and I'll check in. But hello, everyone. Thanks for dropping by. Okay, so let me see what my next question is. All right, Kristen asked, I know you recommend having a central supply area in a closet. I have 3 boxes of supplies and a standard closet setup with one hanging bar and a shelf above it. How do you recommend setting this up, short of installing a new closet system? Pictures of your closet or those you have organized with office supplies would be helpful. Okay, so yeah, this is a suggestion I've made on the blog and a couple interviews I've done. So I did want to just briefly touch on this. Now, when I say have a central supply closet, that could be a closet, but it could also be a bookshelf, a cabinet, a bin, a basket. What I mean is have one space. And then from there, you will know what you have and where it is. For me, I have a bookshelf on the side of my room. Well, I have a couple little areas. Let me see. How can I show you the easiest? I have this right here, this shelf down here. And there's some supplies and some resources on it. It's kind of hard to show you, so you can get a good shot of it. So right here is most of my Post-it supplies and my printer ink and some tape. And then down here is some of my other computer supplies in little tubs. But most of my supplies these days are in some drawers. So I have a stack of drawers over here, the 10 drawer thing. I do not have that colorful one where the drawers actually hang on the top. I think you get them at Costco. Most of my people do. Those are hard because the weight of it pulls it down. So I recommend either metal drawers or a drawer situation where it's held on the bottom. So that's what I have right here next to my desk. So most of my supplies are in here. And I use fun things like tins and little things to make my own drawer dividers. And each drawer kind of has a theme. So that's the one that's my regularly used items. And then I have one for, let's see, they're labeled. So the top one is my printer paper. The second one is my recycled paper. So I run paper through both ways in the printer. And sometimes I have to take the recycled paper out because I'm printing for a presentation or something. So I have two drawers, one for the clean paper and one for the backside paper. I have one for binder paper and legal pads, one for that regular drawer I just showed you. I have one that's the backup pens. So it's got a couple boxes of Sharpies and a handful of loose pens that I take to presentations. It's got some picture hangers, my extra box cutters, that kind of stuff, like the backup supplies. Then I've got one that's all my labeling supplies, and one that's notebooks. So it's my backup moleskins and the little spiral bound notebooks like this that I use for my phone call log. Ooh, that's a good tip too. So instead of, I'll get to that in a minute. Let me leave this out so I remember to talk about it in a minute, because we're talking about supplies right now. So that's part of that. I'm also going to pull, over the weekend, I do have some photos of other supply cabinets I've done, and so that we can all take a look at various suggestions. Also, the header picture on this Facebook page is a craft room I did, but that's the yarn supply cabinet that we did, and it's actually a sideboard from a dining room that we repurposed as the supply cabinet in her craft room. So there's lots of different things you can do. It doesn't have to be just a closet. But if you do have one of those bifold doors or a shallow closet that just has one hanging rod and a shelf, and you need to put office supplies, you can put like a little 3-shelf bookcase under the rod and use the shelves. You can use bins on top of the shelf. I'm a big fan if you have a lot of paper supplies. These days I don't recommend a lot of paper supplies, but if you do have them, the metal vertical sorters, the real old-fashioned ones, usually made by Steelcase or Steelmaster, they have slots about this wide, and the metal frame goes all the way to the top, and so things don't flop over so easily. Those can work really well on those one-shelf shelves so that you can put stuff vertically up there, so that you're storing things kind of like this on their sides. But really, just make use of that space under the rod. You can even use a hanging sweater bag to put some things in. But I recommend like World Market, Cost Plus World Market, or IKEA or Target even has some simple fold-out 3-shelf units. You can use one of those, or you can go higher. Or alternatively, stacking bins can be good. But there's no reason to have a full supply closet if it's just your household. If it's a business thing and you have lots of supplies for sales and marketing stuff, you may need a 6-shelf bookcase instead of just the 3. But just keep in mind, when I say closet, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be an elaborate custom closet. I just mean there's space in there. Put your supplies in whatever kinds of bins, baskets, shelves you can think of. There's lots of options. And I will I have kind of a hectic weekend, but I will try to pull at least a few. And I think there's already some on my Facebook page. If you just look at the photo albums on the Facebook page, there's lots of closet options and home office options. So there should be some ideas for supplies. But really, just keep a list of what you regularly use. I use Sharpies, box cutters, and binder clips a lot, and then Post-its and printer ink. Almost everything else I hardly use at all. So I've had the same Scotch tape for 20 years, almost 16 years. When I started my business, I bought one thing of like 12 tapes. I'm on like roll 3. So just know what you need and how much you need to have on hand. Most of us have just way too many office supplies. All right, hope that helps. And I'm going to circle back around to the call notebooks. So I watch a lot of my clients spin around, spending a lot of time listening to their voicemail messages. And they listen, and then they don't respond because they don't have time. And so then later they have to listen again to see what the message was about, or they have to check back, or their voicemail box is full. I have so many clients with full voicemail boxes that we can't even set up a time to meet because I can't get through to them, and their voicemail box is full because they don't process their voicemail. So think about it like when you used to have an answering machine. Some of you might be too young to remember that, but we used to have these things called an answering machine, and you'd have to listen to the message and then call the people back. We used to do that. We didn't used to just blow off the phone calls. So what I recommend to speed up your phone communication, which I still think is the fastest way to schedule appointments and get information that requires a back and forth. It's still faster to actually pick up the phone than it is to text back and forth or email back and forth. So what you want to do is just have a notebook. And every day I get back from a client and I listen to my voicemail and I write down who called, what they wanted, and their phone number. And I delete it from the phone. That way I don't have to worry about a full mailbox, and I have a list on hand so that I can think about what they needed. Maybe I have to pull together a few materials before I make the phone call. Maybe I have to do a little bit of research. Maybe I have to be in the right frame of mind to talk to that particular person. It gives me the option of responding instead of reacting to them. And I have it down. And then I can remember who I called. Because when you're going off your voicemail messages, especially if you have 2 or 3 people you talk to regularly, it's really easy to overlook one message thinking you already talked to them. So that's my hint, is actually write down the list, and then you can cross it off as you make the call. Anyway, I hope that helps. Saves me a lot of time, and I don't have to listen through each message to get the number or the actual information of what they needed. I have it written down. Okay, big tip, that one. It's lots of time saving on that. All right, let me just check back in over here with the questions. Refreshing. Okay, looks like no one's got questions. People are dropping by, but not questions. Okay. Hopefully this is going smoothly. I have a feeling that my connection's a little slow today, but technology again. All right, next question I've got. All right, so what do you do when you can't get everything on your list done? This one is from, this one's a leftover question. I think it was a second part question to something I answered a couple months ago. I apologize, I didn't write down who asked it. When I transferred the question, I apologize. So it's what do you do when you can't get everything on the list done? That totally depends on what it was. I often, if it didn't get done, I look at it and I move it forward to the next day. If it's something that was time sensitive, you can just not do it. Like if it's already expired, you don't have to do it. It's self-corrected. It was due today, you didn't do it. Oops. Oh well, guess it wasn't important enough to do. If it's something that has to get done, just move it forward a day or to next week when you work on that same topic again. So for me, that's, I theme my days. So Money Mondays, marketing on Tuesdays, Wednesdays are clients and coaching, and Thursdays are project, and Fridays are clients and coaching. So just know what your theme days are and when you're going to work on it again. So if it's something I didn't get done and it's writing, I will do it again next Thursday when I'm writing. Or maybe it was part of marketing, so I would do it next Tuesday. So you can move it forward either a day or a week to the next time you work on that particular thing. I often, though, look at those things. If you've moved it forward, especially 2 or 3 weeks, take a look and see if it's something you even have to do at all. Maybe it's something you could let go. I'm lazy. I like to look for things that I don't have to do after all. So even if it makes my list of things to do, sometimes I can let it go after a few times of moving it forward. It's just not as important as I thought it was, or I'd be getting it done. Going back to that, the question about structure and setting up some time blocks to work on specific kinds of tasks. If you have those, it gets a lot easier to just pick it up again tomorrow or next week. If you don't have those in place, it becomes a free-for-all every single morning deciding what you're going to work on. So having those things in place actually saves you time on a daily basis in terms of what do I work on next. And then another question along those same lines is, how do I decide what to put on my list? Well, anything that's in your head. I don't like to limit the list because I don't like to-do lists. I like time blocks where you work on certain kinds of tasks. And then within that time block, you prioritize which of those tasks you're going to work on first. So instead of just randomly every day going, there's 8 million things I could work on, what should I work on? You put those things onto a list and you move those things with deliberation and consideration onto your schedule regularly. Like once a week, I sit down with my master list, which I keep in my moleskin notebook, and I have it on the front page, and I just add it somewhere in my schedule. I actually schedule the time. When am I going to work on that? During which time block am I going to check out these 3 new tools I just heard about in the last week online? See if any of them are good for my clients. Well, I'm going to do that next Friday during my catch-up session when I like to play around on the internet and check things out. I have some playtime built in to my week for doing that kind of research. So just know that it goes from your head, anything you think of that you need to buy, see, check out, do, call, email, research, create, all that goes onto a master list. And then from that, you pull the tasks into your schedule on a weekly basis. And not all of them during the week. You pick 3 to 5. And then if you finish those, you add 3 or 5 more on Wednesday or Thursday when you've finished. And then if you finish them all, you can add more. But you sprinkle them a little bit at a time into your week, and that way you don't get so overwhelmed and you get a lot more done. That's how I decide what to put on my list. And then the next thing. I never ask a question farther than that. It's like, what am I working on next? The thing after that, and what's after that? And it has to be my priorities, and they have to be in line with my bigger picture wants, or they don't make it on there. Otherwise, they're just silly little things that occurred to me one day, and someday they'll bubble up in importance, and sometimes they won't, and then I get to cross them off. But if you have to look at the fuller list of what you're trying to accomplish, you end up getting better at prioritizing because you're looking at everything against everything instead of what you meant to do today versus someone else's emergencies. That makes it really easy to fall into the trap of working on other people's emergencies instead of just what's good for you. All right? So pause, consider, work it into your bigger picture vision for yourself. All right. And how can I use lists to keep from getting so overwhelmed? So I think I explained that a little bit. If you have a master place to write everything that occurs to you, it becomes the safe place to keep that stuff. And with regular review of it, you get to actually decide and determine what's next. How does it all fit together? You start seeing patterns. If I work on this one, the next 3 things are easier. If I work on that other thing first, everything else will be harder. Or I can't actually get as far in that project as I thought because I have to do these other 3 things first. So I hope that helps. Learning about how to deal with lists and priorities. You can find out more about this specific topic of lists and scheduling on the website. I have the Streamlined Solutions course and the Streamlined Time Solution goes very in depth on how to use your list very specifically and prioritize your tasks. So I would recommend that if that's something you want to look at more. And it's at morethanorganized.net. Under the Services tab, you will find the Streamlined Solutions. And I would check that out if that's something that is a struggle for you. And it's for most people. I still struggle a little bit every day. There's fun things you want to do sometimes, even when you have to do stuff. But I know that the have to do stuff is what gets me more freedom down the line to do more of the fun stuff. So just keep that in mind. You're doing a little bit now to save time and effort later. And that always helps. Okay, let me just try refreshing this page one more time, see if any questions came in. And if not, don't forget, go ahead and sign up at morethanorganized.net and you will get the email to reply to next month so that if you can't catch this live, you can at least have your question answered when you watch the recording of it after the fact. Okay, let's see. Hello. Hey, Miriam Tamsia, is that how you say your name? I'm sorry, I'm terrible at reading names. Anyway, hello, thank you so much for joining me. She doesn't have an actual question, but hello. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. I will catch you next month. That will be March 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will catch you then. All right, later. Bye.